things. So what is direct pay? Direct pay is going to help us build jobs and sustainable publicly owned energy in local communities. And so going through the direct pay program, thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, the federal government is going to give tax-exempt entities like the local governments, so think your town, your city, your county, schools, whether they be public or privately owned nonprofits even are going to be eligible. Same with hospitals, privately owned public nonprofit hospitals are going to be eligible. Your houses of worship, think your temple, your church, and all kinds of nonprofits are going to be able to receive direct tax-free cash funding to build renewable energy projects. That's going to allow us to increase public ownership of power generation resources that will not only build public power, like energy power, but also public power. The more ownership we have of the things that sustain our own lives, the more power we have to sustain ourselves, to be resilient, and to know our community and to be a part of it. So the direct pay program is going to help us do that. We're going to help increase affordable and sustainable energy. We're going to increase high quality jobs. And as we said before, we're going to push past the floor that the Inflation Reduction Act has given us and ensure that those jobs be connected and tied to a union. And we want to ensure that this program maximizes economic and racial justice. And I think we've been talking about today a little bit about how to get that done. So next. So what is this direct pay program? What is it going to help do? So think of renewable energy generation, solar on the rooftop. You could have a parking lot that has new shaded covers that have solar on the top. You could participate in a wind turbine that is somewhere out in a rural place through a contractual agreement. You could, I mean, really, the sky's the limit with anything that you can think of for renewable energy. Ground source geothermal heat pumps. There's all kinds of opportunities available. And like we said, it's these publicly owned entities. So your town's senior center, tribes and tribal reservations are also eligible entities. And as are, like I mentioned, houses of worship. So electric vehicle charging stations are eligible for direct pay, and so are solar panels. And I mean, really, the list is pretty long and pretty exciting about all of the different technologies that are included. Next. Like we have tried to emphasize through the panel so far, business as usual would lead us down a path of not paying attention to equity. And we are at an inflection point, a moral point, where we have the ability to implement the Inflation Reduction Act, but in a way that ensures that the president meets his goal of achieving 40% of these investments happening in communities that need and deserve them most. And I really don't believe that happens on accident. I think it happens when we all come together and achieve that arm in arm through showing each other solidarity and for standing for each other. And at this point, really helping spread the message, especially where we have success stories where nonprofit and tax-exempt entities have been able to build renewable energy projects, using those as case studies to allow future eligible entities to take advantage of the direct pay program. So if we center these communities, then we believe we can transfer federal funds directly into these communities. We can build disaster resilient communities, and we can create good paying local jobs like we've discussed. We think the energy future has the opportunity to be more publicly owned, more community centered than it is now. And that certainly also is improved by making our energy system more distributed than it currently is. Right now, we have our energy system is really centralized. And so it allows for these for-profit corporations to really benefit from all of the electricity generation. But if we distribute that out into lots of different places within our community, it changes the balance of power between the electric utility in our communities. So we have faith that this program could go be above and beyond just getting some solar on the roof. So what does all of this mean? Obviously, we believe that BIPOC communities have always been those hit first and worst by industrial pollution and by the climate crisis. If we cut the pollution inherent in our energy system now, we will, by displacing demand, we will have a unique chance to target those communities that need improvement in their energy system, in their air quality, in their local economy the most. And so we really believe that direct pay has the opportunity to do that, because we can ensure that these investments are being taken advantage of by providing assistance and technical assistance and education in those communities. And so, like we said, beyond just ensuring that BIPOC communities are that they are prioritized and centralized, we believe that we also will not see worker justice maximized unless we really choose to center that as well and to show solidarity with workers. There are lots of unions that are already set up to represent a lot of the workforce that is going to be connected to the implementation of the Inflation Reduction Act. Again, thus the UAW red that I'm wearing today. This bill is a windfall for a lot of major corporations. And so unless we really stand with workers, the business as usual would be that these corporations continue to take advantage of these subsidies without being held accountable to their workers. And that would be an unacceptable outcome. So we believe that beyond what the floor the bill creates, which is to require a prevailing wage and registered apprenticeships for these direct pay tax credits, we also believe that we can come together and maximize economic justice by ensuring that these jobs are union and that they are put together with the eligible entity through a collective bargaining agreement or project labor agreement, whatever is more appropriate in that instance. And so what's next? Obviously, a lot of you may be pretty excited to get this funding. The one thing that is slightly annoying about this funding is that it acts as a rebate. So obviously, it's going to be a challenge. And I really challenge all of us here at this table to really think about how to solve this one, how to ensure that there is upfront financing for those communities who, of course, don't have enough cash just sitting around to put solar on the roof. If they did, they might have done it already. And so we want to help connect those resources and help be the network that's going to allow for financing to happen. So the first thing that we're expecting to have happen in the application process is that the Internal Revenue Service, who you pay your taxes to, will finalize the rules and publish the form that tax exempt entities will need to fill out to let the IRS know, hey, I'm not a fraudster, I'm real, I'm going to be applying for this funding. So, give me a registration number so that I can sign up for this. And so we believe that we'll know what that looks like. And of course, the second that happens, we will let all of you know as well. And then in the beginning of the year, next year, so January 24, will be the first opportunity folks have to pre-file, to do that process where you say, hi, I'm real, I'm not a fraudster. And then the IRS will give you a registration number that you will then use in April to file for your direct pay credits that will give you a refund of up to 70% in some cases for whatever project you had completed in 2023. And as long as Congress continues to allow this project to exist, it's going to continue to exist for 10 years. I think a lot of nonprofits are used to competing for grant funding that is a limited pie and having to do so in an extremely short amount of time. And this is slightly different. It's if you are an eligible entity and you have an eligible project that you finish on time and you pre-file and then you file and you do everything correctly, you're going to get a tax credit. And so that's what makes this really unique. There's a chance that every community, every place in this country could be just inundated with renewable energy, and we could really transform our economy and really drive equity and justice in through this direct pay program. But again, only if we step up to the challenge and only if we come together to really make it happen. So that's why we're so grateful that you're here today on this panel. And just as a wrap up on the last page, I want to make sure that you know that you can always reach out to us at the Congressional Progressive Caucus Center. We have our technical assistance in the chat, of course. So for the last, that'll be the last slide. For the second to last slide, I am going to be passing it back to Rihanna soon. And I have Rihanna talking to us about what we all can do to really advance direct pay on this call, as a result of this call and as a result of learning about direct pay. So we want you all to think about 3 eligible entities in your community: your kid's school, the local library, the hospital, your town, city hall. I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities right around you. So to think of 3 of those, to put them in the chat and commit to ensuring to share this information with them, to make sure that they're aware that if they complete a renewable energy project this year or next, honestly, for the next 10 years, but that there are groups like us who are out here waiting to really provide assistance in making sure that these projects are built and that the federal funding is flowing into the communities as Congress intended. And so if you represent an eligible entity yourself, we want you to dream up what your organization can do and fill out the sign up link in the chat to get more information and tools. And so with that, I'm hoping that you've been putting your Q&A in the chat. I'm hoping that we're going to continue to work very closely with many of you to make sure that your renewable energy visions come true. And we're just so grateful for the time that you've given us today to really talk this one out.